It's this just not very consistent. Okay, so this is Jonathan Cho. This is from Seattle, right next door to Old Oregon. He says, exclusive, I spent a year investigating Seattle's low-barrier homeless housing and uncovered a nightmare of drugs, crimes, chaos, and death. But local lawmakers are doubling down, committing millions to failed housing-first policies that only compound the problems. Here's the first installment of my series. So I want to check this out. This guy does really good work, and he's kind of exposing kind of the money laundering, I think, also that goes on with these programs. Like, the state is actually not incentivized to correct this problem, or the corrupt state isn't. They don't actually want to solve this problem. All of their solutions are totally counterintuitive, counterproductive. It used to be a thing where if you wanted to stay in a shelter, you had to be sober. You couldn't have any drugs on you. You couldn't bring any booze inside. No scissorp. Nothing. You had to be sober. They have lifted all of that, all of those precautions, those provisions, those rules. They don't exist in a lot of places that offer services to homeless people. In fact, they encourage the behavior. They give them safe places to do it, as they kind of destroy their own surroundings, their own communities. And this is the type of people that I guess they would be, these the antinatalist people must be talking about, right? These kinds of people.
We understand that we need to do a lot more to educate folks.
Plymouth housing leaders continue to say the answer to solving the region's homeless crisis is to simply build out more affordable housing.
Yeah, you just need more money. Just more money. Just more housing. Just give us more money. More tax money.
That are legal and funded.
But lately, cities like Kenmore have rejected this idea and are catching on to the nonprofit's low-barrier model.
The drug problem in Plymouth housing is rampant,
which in many cases allow drug addicts and mentally ill residents to move in without any requirements for treatment.
Sadly.
But Plymouth leaders insist this is fear-mongering and the concerns are overblown.
We can't let fear and bureaucracy deny.
No, hey guys, do you think a bunch of mentally unwell drug addicts all living in an apartment building, do you think that's going to be a very happy place? Do you think a lot of fucked up things are going to happen? Fucking fear mongering. Holy shit. It's not kindness. It's not empathy to allow people to do this shit to themselves. And I've been saying it for a while, and I really believe it. This is a policy decision. This is 100% intentional. I mean, what other reason could there be? What other reason could there possibly be to allow this kind of shit to take over your streets and then provide solutions that aren't solutions? They're actually just going to make it worse and encourage the behavior. And before you know it, these people are just back out there, just doing the same thing. And then they're bringing it into these housing things where there's probably people that really need to be there that get fucked with. They get preyed upon. They get fucking robbed.
Proven solutions.
So I spend time looking at what's really happening inside some of their facilities in downtown Seattle, like the Lewiston Scargo in Belltown.
Trying to find Mike Matzik. Mike!
We Heart Seattle's Andrea Suarez and I followed Mike Matzik for several months.
Hey, you smelled the fentanyl right when we got out of that.
Andrea, what is that?
Well, I would say that is probably somebody that went through withdrawal and crapped right here in the hallway.
Matzik reached out to Suarez for help, saying that
they were so close. They were so close to the toilet.
The conditions inside the building were becoming unbearable.
You got rats in here?
Yeah, rats underneath there.
And it used to be also a requirement that you kept your apartments and your housing clean. And they would come through and do inspections, and if you didn't meet the requirements of the inspections, you got kicked out. But that's the thing. These people will not actually take the help if they're not allowed to continue their drug abuse, etc. They don't want the help. People are just we just gotta have more money, more facilities, more counselors. They don't want your fucking help. It's sad, it's unfortunate, but I don't know, because it doesn't solve the problem. It encourages the behavior. It shows people that maybe are starting off with this lifestyle that they don't actually have to better themselves at all. It just encourages people to become apathetic, nihilistic, amoral. They don't help themselves. They don't help the people around them. It's really fucking heinous. It's really disgusting.
Crawls underneath, and a whole bunch of them under there.
He's been forced to move rooms several times and says he's feeling hopeless.
Okay, so you can't even lock the door when you leave?
No, I can't.
Why don't you go to management and ask for a new key?
They don't have a key for that lock right there either.
Oh my gosh.
Is anybody ever using this phone since the 80s?
Matzik recently invited us over as he smoked fentanyl with his friends.
Oh my god.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Hey man, be cool. You got to be chilling here, okay? We're high on fentanyl.
Mike, who's in your room?
Drug use inside the rooms are a regular occurrence.
And this unit is a trap house. This is a garbage can full of foil, drugs, revolving door.
So does the staff here at Plymouth Housing, do they let you guys do drugs in here?
They don't say no, but they don't, you know.
This is a harm reduction place.
Yeah, it's a harm reduction place, guys. It's a safe place for me to come and smoke crack. And don't you wish we had one of these in every city in America, every town in America? You know, fuck halfway houses. No. They make people get jobs. They make people clean up after themselves. They make people get clean. That's not the way. Okay, this guy can't smoke his fucking crack in a safe place. I mean, he could. What if he was smoking outside? Somebody might steal his crack. Somebody might take his fucking crack from him.
This is harm reduction?
Yeah, so they provide the paraphernalia, like the pipes and
They give you the pipes downstairs.
needles or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, they say, hey guys, don't do any of this stuff, but if you're going to, if you absolutely have to, here is all of the necessary tools.
I mean, the staff knows you guys are doing drugs in your room, right?
All right.
But nobody's intervening on your behalf, making you guys go to treatment.
Suarez says what's happening at the
The guy doesn't want to say because he doesn't want to fuck it up.
Lewiston Scargo is an absolute failure of the housing first model, which essentially warehouses homeless drug addicts, no strings attached.
You don't have to be clean. You don't have to be enrolled into a program. Yeah, there's no accountability, discipline, or structure at all.
In many cases, they're not getting better, and at times, overdosing and dying in their rooms.
I thought you had a case manager that was going to get you transferred out of here.
I also spoke to other residents here who say case managers and staff quit so often, it feels like no one is around to help them find jobs.
Yeah, well, no one's around to help them find jobs because it's probably a really shitty job. It's probably really difficult to deal with the kinds of personalities that are in here. And maybe, I don't know, just maybe they get frustrated at the fact that you guys will do whatever the fuck you want and there's nothing anybody will do to solve it. You're just putting everybody in danger constantly. Everybody's just waiting for one of these people just to like have a fucking nervous breakdown and kill someone.
Or take that next step out of this situation.
Each person I've had pretty much they don't exist. I mean, they've been here for like, I've met them like two times and then they pulled quit or whatever.
Yeah.
I reached out to Plymouth Housing about these concerns and allegations, but so far no
And they said, oh, it's fine. It's cool.
response.
The conditions in this place are almost worse than on the streets.
Yeah.
I didn't have cockroaches and rats in my tent, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you know what would actually help that problem out just a little bit there, pal? Like, I don't know, maybe pick up a fucking broom.
We're just normal men.
What do you mean, normal men?
We're just innocent men.
Those are the advisors. Those are the people that work at the work at the halfway house. They just laugh at them.
Meanwhile, Suarez is trying to help.
If you want off of that, I will help you. We'll take you to a detox and we'll take you to a 6-month place, a recovery, so you don't have to smoke that anymore.
She invites residents like Matzik out into the
Yeah, he's like, okay, I'll come with you. But first, I need to get high and go see Dune Part 2. And then I'll go.
neighborhood and pays them to pick up the trash, giving them a sense of purpose and belonging.
Is that something you would consider, Kelly?
Yeah.
A community.
Yeah, because, I mean, they'll be able to get a little bit of cash in their pocket to score more drugs. You know, while the drugs are prevalent in the area, they are not free.
Matzik and others say is missing behind these closed doors.
you can see they didn't say get out of here. They didn't say don't look at my drugs in my hand. They didn't hide the foil. They're telling their story because it's a cry for help. It's a cry for help.
Is it a cry for help? I mean, maybe in some cases, maybe it is, you know. But yeah, this is what happens whenever the government or anybody is just like, hey, you know, we just need more funding. We need more money for these programs, these outreach, these counselors. That's actually what you get. It's a perfect example of how the government deals with things. And a lot of it has to do with because the people that run our country are very bourgeois, and they think that just throwing money at something is just how to solve any problem, because that's how they solve problems in their regular life. So they just kind of project that out there writ large. Just fucking, there's a bunch of homeless crackheads. I don't know. Fucking give them like $5 million. Yeah, I don't know. It's something. It's something, right? Listen, I'm a good person. I'm a good person. I'm telling you that we need more money.
It's crying out loud for help.
The city, the county, the state keeps funding these types of situations. How come?
Because they refuse to change their minds. They refuse to acknowledge that it's not working.
Yeah, because this is what, like, things like DEI, intersectionality, this is where it gets you. Because you're not allowed to be critical of anybody for any fucking reason. Unless, of course, you're like somebody making a cake on TikTok. Then it's open season to kind of destroy your life. But other than that, you know, we really can't be standing in judgment of people. So that was this guy does good work, Jonathan Cho. I don't know if there's anything else related. Governor Jay Inslee is one of the politicians who is now asking Washington State Legislature for millions of dollars to fund his failed housing first strategy. Exactly. We get them in the houses, and then we get them the treatment. See what he has to say.
There is a bill that I think is an important one. It's Bill 2474. This bill would really encourage local leaders to step up to the plate and show some leadership to site housing. This has been a problem. Most recently in Kenmore, we had a site for over 100 housing units ready, set to go, been well worked, financing in place, consistent with local zoning, but local leaders showed more fecklessness than leadership and killed the project. We cannot solve.
So the local leaders, the people that are on the ground dealing with this kind of shit, they're dealing with the repercussions of these big government programs. And they're saying, no more. We need to find a different way to fucking go about this. I mean, granted, you know, maybe you could just, like, I don't know, do something crazy like enforce the laws. I mean, that would be a wild concept. Just kind of enforce them for a little while and see what happens. But even the bleeding hearts that think that the houses are unacceptable and that they're full of drug, even they wouldn't suggest that, because they don't really want to help themselves. It reminds me of when we were watching that night. We watched about like a bunch of homeless encampments and people that lived in tunnels. We watched some stuff about Portland. There was a guy in Austin who was interviewed for like a news program who was saying there was a big bill that was coming up that was going to be voted on about basically making it illegal once again to camp on the sidewalks in downtown Austin. And he was like, well, I hope they vote for it. I hope people vote for it. I can't vote for it. I can't vote for it because, you know, but I hope it passes. Like that kind of attitude where people like intuitively understand what the fuck is the problem is. They understand what's going on. Mostly it has to do with it just being allowed to happen. And now it's gotten so out of control in some of these places that there is really no enforcement mechanism that can truly get rid of it. Unless you want to drop a hammer hard. Unless you want to go like Giuliani in the 90s. Which might be what needs to happen.
Of the housing crisis and the homelessness crisis in this state without local leadership. In that case, we did not have it. Now, fortunately, that site will be able to, in some sense, move over to Redmond, where we did have some leadership. But we can't allow NIMBYism to lock us into a homeless crisis.
NIMBYism? Oh, I gotta look that up. I don't know what that is. NIMBYism. NIMBYism? That's a new word for me. NIMBYism. Where's the Cambridge meaning of NIMBYist in English? The behavior of someone who does not want something to be built or done near where they live, although it does not need to be built or done somewhere. So I'm glad I looked that up, because now he's being critical of the people that live in these areas as well, and they might not want a crack den like built in their neighborhood. And he's like, well, that's not compassionate.
And NIMBYism is a pathology when it comes to homelessness. So this bill would essentially say that if we're not going to have some local leadership, we won't have state dollars awarded for those projects to those cities that have failed to show leadership in this regard. Now, I understand that
it's so fucking disgusting. It's so fucking evil to do this kind of shit. They're like, well, we just won't give you any funding then. If you don't comply, if you don't fucking comply, then we're not going to give you anything. Because you know that there's strings attached. You know that like this money is probably connected to their larger budgets. Prophet says, not in my backyard. NIMBY. Fair enough.
any change involves concern, questions, and that any change in any neighborhood can invoke controversy. And when I've talked to some local leaders about that, they've said, well, people...
Hey, how about we make one in your fucking neighborhood, Jay Inslee? How about we make one in your neighborhood? You wouldn't want to be accused of NIMBYism, would you? You don't want to be a NIMBYit. How about we just throw one right downtown, a mile away from where you live? Let's do that. Honestly, that's what the city should start doing. They should find where all of the local politicians live, and they should start building facilities in their neighborhoods. No. It's only the poor people that have to fucking deal with this kind of shit day in and day out, trying to walk down the fucking sidewalk without being fucking harassed, trying to take their kids out to eat or something without having some fucking homeless guy run up and jerk off in their faces.
Get upset. Well, people are upset about homelessness too. I talked to one leader, said, well, geez, I had 5% of my city was upset about it. Well, they need to have confidence that the 95% who want a solution to homelessness are going to back these leaders up. They need to have a little more confidence in their...
Yeah, enforce laws. So like when you see people out in the open on sidewalks and shit smoking crack or fentanyl or whatever, heroin, whatever they're doing, you know what you do? You arrest them. I know, it's a fucking wild concept. You arrest them. Probably the best thing you could do for them, too. It's probably the most compassionate thing you could possibly do. At least then, if they get thrown into fucking jail, maybe they'll dry out a little bit. Maybe they can start reconsidering their life choices. It's kind of a weird thing. I know these people have a really hard time understanding this, but consequences actually are a good thing. To suffer a consequence for your behavior or actions is really the only way to learn.
Their electorate. They have to recognize that when questions are asked about these projects, that answers are given, but that people have confidence that when we build these housing systems, when we build drug treatment, when we build tiny home villages, they become part of the neighborhood.
Oh my God. So you have to integrate them into society. You got to reintegrate them in society. Yeah, the problem is when those mini houses, the housing in general, is given with no strings attached to it, no requirement of the person that lives there, then it'll become a hotbed of wanton criminality. And everybody knows it because everybody already fucking sees it. I don't even understand. I can't even begin to fathom the rationalization or the thinking of how you get here as like this is a viable solution to the problem. It makes me think that you're lining your pockets and your friends' pockets that you probably contract out to build these things with a lot of money. Probably charging a nice premium too.
And as a governor, I can tell you I've seen this movie over and over again, where someone proposes a solution to homelessness, to have housing. Someone proposes a treatment center for a drug problem.
Like a lot of these people, not having a house is like the least of their fucking problems. You have to start from a very basic place before you can start doing shit like this.
And some folks raise questions about that. They say, don't send it somewhere else, not in my backyard, not in my neighborhood. We're special, we're different. And then we get it through, and 6 months later, there's peace in the valley. The drug treatment works, the housing comes in, it's not a problem. Crime does.
I'm sure he's got statistics to back all this shit up. I'm sure there's tons of data that he's looking at, and he's not just like pulling shit out of his ass. He's not just saying something.
Not skyrocket, kids go to school, people have potlucks. It works. If you can just get over that first time of controversy. So we need our local leaders to step up to the plate to help on a statewide solution to a statewide problem, which is homelessness. And I hope this bill will give us one more tool to encourage that and inspire local leaders.
Yeah, seems like a real good plan there. Let's see here. For some reason, Inslee keeps forgetting to mention how most communities welcome affordable housing as long as the place has rules and doesn't turn into a drug den. "Quote unquote, low barrier is a disaster, and unfortunately the governor is not playing with all the facts. He should contact us. He should contact us at Discovery Institute if he wants a copy of our national report on homelessness that shows no requirements housing first strategy is an utter failure. Low barrier and harm reduction strategies are making it even worse." No shit. Redmond Mayor Angela Burney now says she wants her city to host the very same Plymouth housing project by Kenmore. Why? Well, that's a good question. Why? Why are they suddenly everybody so excited about this? Interesting. Probably something going on behind the scenes. There's probably a little bit of old-fashioned corruption going on. Like if you were the mayor of a city, like wouldn't you like look at what's going on in other cities before you agreed to something like this? Or is this a way just to appease your constituency? Like, does the city, do they vote on these kinds of things? Or is this just something that is so top level because it comes down from the federal government and comes down from the governor and this on the state level where they get all the money for it? Do you think people are voting for these things to be built in their cities? Probably not.
Downtown Redmond is booming, especially along this stretch of Cleveland Street. It's prime real estate surrounded by dozens of mom and pop shops, brand new condominiums, and a light rail extension project expected to bring even more foot traffic to the area. But this empty parcel could also be home to one of the most controversial homeless housing providers in the region.
Building was under construction.
Records show Plymouth Housing is making a play to set up a 100-unit apartment building for the chronically homeless, and the facility...
I mean, like, of course they are. Like, they're not going to stop anything. They're not going to change any of their policies because from a business perspective, from their perspective, they're making fucking money. It's the faucet has just turned on for them.
...would be open to drug addicts and mentally ill residents. Tuesday evening, the Redmond City Council will vote on a land transfer that would essentially give away this $5.5 million property to Plymouth for free.
So that you were doing this
for free. Oh my God, what a fucking scam. So you have this Plymouth Housing, which fundraises. It's probably some kind of non-profit. Holy shit. And they're going to just give it to them. They don't even have to do anything. They don't have to provide any benefit to the city at all. That's a fucking scam.
For the good of the community.
The city would also chip in more than $3 million to support the project. Problem is, Abby...
So they get the land and they pay for the building. Sounds like a great deal.
Arthur says no one from the city told them what was going on.
Let the community know.
Can't believe it.
Thomas Yuen owns Computer Surplus right next door to the proposed project.
I have no idea.
And says it feels like city leaders are leaving them in the dark.
Don't get me wrong. Help them. But why you want to pick downtown the city? What's the whole purpose?
In other words, there's been zero community engagement about this land transfer.
The city and our Go Redmond program.
I reached out to Mayor Angela Burney and other city leaders for an explanation, but so far no one has responded to my questions. Along with concerns about transparency, it appears there was no bidding process for this land either.
Where the community showed up.
Paul Lee believes it's all by design.
So it seems that they're actually counting
Did you crack the case, Paul? Did you crack this case?
on a community that doesn't know, doesn't really care.
He's one of the administrators operating.
I mean, this is a lot of what, state bureaucracy does. They prey on your apathy. They don't tell you when they're voting for things. They don't tell you when they're going to talk about stuff. It's actually not that easy to find that information. You think it would be kind of plastered everywhere, but they really kind of don't want you to know what they're doing. It's very similar to the way that public schools operate, at least in my experience with them. They don't want you to know what they're doing. They don't want you to be asking questions. They just want you to just accept that what they're doing is the right thing. Like, why would they do something that would be detrimental to you, the citizen? This is all for you. I mean, come on.
10 more neighbors, one of the most influential community Facebook groups that took on Plymouth Housing last year and convinced the city council to block them from moving into their downtown core.
The CEO seemed like she basically was first to talk and first to leave and didn't care what the community had to say.
Housing First is a very, very effective way to keep people stably housed.
Angry
Somebody should have been like, yo, can we see some fucking data to support that? Do you have any information available or just your word?
Residents claim Plymouth did a bait and switch.
Sometimes we have to say no. We don't want it.
Selling it initially as affordable housing for veterans and senior citizens.
Look at the people here. Look at how upset we are. Why do we have to go through this?
But then last minute, changed it to apartments for the chronically homeless and drug-addicted individuals.
The drug problem in Plymouth housing is rampant.
Lee says putting up a massive building like this in the heart of downtown Redmond would turn into a disaster.
Homicide, rape, robbery.
Leading to more crime and open-air drug use in the area. He points to several Plymouth housing facilities in Seattle and says the conditions inside and outside the buildings are deplorable.
It seems like it's just a bit of a mess in Seattle that's being spread across the state.
He's encouraging residents to mobilize against this project before it's too late.
The final warning is wake up. You got to talk to each other, because if you don't, you will regret it.
I agree with you, pal. You gotta be paying attention to what the fuck is going on out there. Prof says they are not free yet, Sean. Yet. Wait until in California you can get free snacks so you don't get sick, but your kid with cancer can pound sand. It's already kind of the way it is, unfortunately. No, if you're like a law-abiding citizen that like pays their taxes and wants to go along to get along, you're fucked. You're literally an enemy of the state. They'll go after you. But I think that seems like it's probably it for that. But yeah, worth following Jonathan Cho. He's a journalist out of Seattle. He does a lot of stuff on Portland as well. Oh, Smack, not Snacks. Christ, autocomplete, Smack. Well, they already do that too. They literally do that. I mean, at the Plymouth Housing, I'm sure that kind of thing goes on. They give you all the paraphernalia. I mean, why wouldn't they?